I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing is to approve the agenda. Does anyone have any additions, changes, questions to the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as it is.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Dave Brusick, second by Sean Ryan to approve the agenda. If there's no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, it passes 4-0. First thing on the agenda is fulfilling the vacancy in our council seat. Just for the listening audience out there, we did interview 3 candidates last Thursday. All 3 candidates were very well qualified. We should be thankful in the city of New Prague that we have people that qualified who would like to serve on the city council. So I want to thank all 3 of them, Annette Babione, Maggie Bass, and Jim Morris for applying for that position. We did do an interview process similar to what someone would expect as a job interview, where basically just was a answering question session, 20 to 25 minutes in length for each candidate. Afterwards, we had discussions on each candidate, and I think we kind of came up with a consensus of who we'd like to have fill that vacancy. And if there's any other comments?
They were all we had excellent candidates to fill the position.
So, without further ado, I guess I'm going to make a motion to fulfill the interim council seat with Maggie Bass.
Second.
I got a second. Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay.
I'm going to vote differently this time. I'm going to vote for Annette Babione. Only reason, not because I have any reservations about Maggie, I just want to keep some of those other 2 very interested in serving the community, because I think they both have a lot to offer.
Okay.
So that's my primary reason for doing it that way.
Voting no. Yes, okay. Okay, so it passes 3-1 with the. So second is regarding that, and Maggie, congratulations.
Thank you.
As we mentioned in the
Council.
interviews, we swear you in at the next meeting, August 7th. So,
Thank you.
Mayor, before you go on, we should just clarify for the listening audience that as we take a look at that, is this is kind of an interim appointment that you'll administer the oath of office and swear Maggie in at the next council meeting on August 7th. But as part of the approval of the resolution, you're also calling for a special election that will be held at the next regular city election, which will be November 6th, 2018. So we'll have the special election, even though we have this interim appointment. That will be an open vacancy where anybody can run for that special election, while at the same time, it will be a regular city election whereby the mayor and 2 council seats will be open. So 4/5 of the council will be up for election at that meeting in November of 2018.
right. And I was going to kind of do that as second part, Mike.
I'm sorry.
But that's fine. Do we need to make another, because it's already in the resolution?
It's in the resolution,
Okay.
it takes care of doing that.
Okay, well, good.
Also, Mayor, because Maggie's so involved, I know we will have to do committee reappointments. Will that be next meeting?
Yes, I think we should talk about that next meeting after she's sworn in. Then we can decide. I know are you the chair of the park board?
No longer the chair.
Okay, but she serves on the park board, and you also serve on the park board.
And joint powers.
Yeah, she's on track.
And joint
Oh,
powers.
okay, yeah, so those were, I think, are the 2 that we have to figure out, because, and then you can determine if you still want to do planning, I can still do golf type of deal, so, yeah, we can discuss that, and then we probably need another park board.
We also, well, I was gonna bring that up at miscellaneous. because we also had another person resign.
Our
Who's
board?
moving, yes.
Okay. And we did have someone that we did not pick, Andy Beckius, so we have to play some musical chairs after the next meeting and get things kind of ironed out. So, okay. Good. Next, Ken, I think you're gonna take this, or are you gonna show that movie you were talking about?
Yeah, we'll watch the movie.
Thank you, Council.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lengthy PowerPoint, but I will go through the summary from the Planning Commission meeting for Chart Inc. applying for an amendment to an existing conditional use permit for their facility at 1100 First Avenue Northwest. And there's just a photo of their facility there. Yeah, that's not working. There we go. So you take a look at the air photo on the overhead. This map provides the air photo, and overlaid on that is the zoning districts. Everything in kind of purplish pink color is the I-1 light industrial zoning district. So you see Chart's facility that was built back in 2012, or approved in 2012, and constructed over the next years, located in this area here, along with their pre-existing facilities with exterior storage tanks, the original manufacturing site that's been expanded over the years, and then the storage area north of that facility along Highway 21. So we're focusing on the newer building at 1100 First Avenue Northwest. So give you a little background. All the homes across the street are zoned RL90 single family residential. Most of them are facing directly at the Chart site and back. When the conditional use permit for this facility was approved, some extensive landscaping and a berm was placed along that side of the property, which normally would not be required by code, but due to the proximity of the homes across the street, the staff recommended that, and Chart agreed, and obviously the council approved that to take place at that time. And I'll get a little more details on that, what they're proposing now on a different overhead, but basically we're amending they're requesting amendment to the conditional use permit C2 2012 that was approved back in June of 2012, and that allowed one specific area on that new building site for exterior storage, and it's very specifically outlined on that site map for that building where that exterior storage would be allowed. All provisions of that original CUP are still in effect, and as I noted, they did put screening along First Avenue Northwest to basically provide buffer to those single-family homes. What they're now requesting is to add additional areas for exterior storage on that site, and that is specifically why this conditional use permit needs to be amended. And basically, they want to take areas that are already gravelled, that were basically work areas where they were moving equipment and actually temporarily storing equipment at various times on the site. They want to have that for more permanent storage of built vessels for liquid natural gas and other things, and continue to use them for temporary storage as well. But they have a number of gravel areas around the building, north side in particular being one large area, along the west side near the railroad tracks, and then a little bit on the east side of the building as well, and we'll go over those in the air photo. So the Planning Commission did have a public hearing at their June 28th meeting. Specifically, we did have one resident that came to the meeting. His concern was in relation to some of these added exterior storage areas, and I'll show some photos of this in the air photo, but he was concerned that a single row of trees along the north driveway area, and this will make more sense once I show the photos, but Mr. Schurig was concerned that those one row of trees would not screen from his view, from his home into the site, that storage area. So I'll show you how that was addressed. Ultimately, Chart did have Representative Bruce Lyman at the meeting, who reiterated that they really aren't physically changing any locations of any storage areas on the site that are gravelled today. They just want to have permission to have longer term storage on those gravel areas today. And then as it relates to the screening along the north driveway, Chart agreed, and the planning commission recommended additional screening along that north driveway area. So I will show again those details as we go through the presentation here. Ultimately, the planning commission did recommend approval on a 5-0 vote with those additional trees being added on the north driveway area. So here's some photos. So I just want to give you a little background. So again, this is the screening that was provided along First Avenue Northwest. So we have basically a fence, a double row of trees, and they kind of alternate along First Avenue. So this is actually looking south of the south driveway, which goes on the site, and then this is north of that south driveway. So existing screening. The one issue we've had from day one on the exterior storage, and this was actually the original exterior storage area, was that plain as day you drive by on the road, you can see that area. And there's really never a good way to screen that from initial development of the site until it's been running a few years, and Chart has determined that there actually can be screening for about 100 feet from this corner fence, basically adding another fence section 100 feet into the site to provide screening from not only the tanks that are located there, but then they obviously have some garbage and other trash pickup there as well. So one of the conditions for this amendment would be to add 100 feet of fencing along this area. Trees are not recommended. It's been a gravel area. They would not grow well along this portion of the tank, so trees would be not recommended to be added there, and there really isn't much room for them with how this existing storage area functions. So that is one change that is recommended in the conditions, and Chart has agreed to adding that 100-foot section of fence. Basically the same fence that you see here, just extended into the site. So we'll move along. Again, you can see more of that screening that exists on the property. So moving along to the north access into the site, you can see a gravel area in the very north end of the building. You see some tanks that have been temporarily stored along that area. So the recommendation and what we had worked with Chart going into the meeting on was to add a single row of spruce trees from basically the fencing along First Avenue into the site along this drive aisle and then ending at the corner. Mr. Schurig indicated he did not believe that would be adequate screening and suggested that more trees be added, not just a single row here. Commissioner Bob Gilman recommended at the Planning Commission, which ultimately added as a condition to add additionally a row of trees continuing around the corner, basically to the north edge of the building. So adding trees here and up to First Avenue. So you kind of get a double row of trees if you're looking from this is actually from Mr. Schurig's property, looking into that drive aisle. So he has kind of a straight view into the site. So pretty important to have that screened from his view in particular. And Mr. Schurig was at the meeting and I believe was satisfied with that condition being added. A couple other photos here. So this is actually from the temporary turnaround at the north end of First Avenue. There's actually a nice buffer here and some trees already. So I'm actually standing or holding the camera up as high as I can. You can barely see the tops of some of these tanks over there. So really don't need anything added there. Traffic doesn't generally go that far north, and there's no homes looking back at that area. And then a couple of photos here. So you can see extensive landscaping already existing on First Avenue, so we did need to bolster that. And then this is the home that was looking directly into that south driveway access. So we had heard that complaint for a number of years. So ultimately, staff did recommend, and the Planning Commission recommended approval of this amendment. And here's the map I wanted to show you. So the two areas for landscaping being added is the 100-foot, looks like a trees here, but actually just indicating the fencing. So 100 feet of fencing from First Avenue into the site to screen that existing storage area that was already approved. And then this would be added row of trees here, and then north to the north, basically in line with the north edge of the building, and that should block Mr. Schurig's view into the property and provide screenings from traveling public in their vehicles as well. So everybody was in agreement with those conditions as I understood it at the meeting. So that's what I have for the report. If you have any questions.
What is the timing, if approved, that those trees would be, in that fencing would need to be put up?
We didn't have any specific timing other than conditional use permits have to be completed within a year.
Okay.
And I believe they would do that yet this fall. Basically, they wouldn't want to plant trees right now anyway, but have it done before winter.
Okay.
Yeah, if you wanted to add a timeline, certainly could do so.
Oh, okay.
So that they don't have storage going on and no screening in place. That would be fine to do.
Okay.
But we want to say the end of the year or sometime in October, November. That'd be
Okay.
Fall
And-
season. In fall.
fine. In the fall, we did. Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Ken? And basically, you said that Mr. Shirk was satisfied with what he saw?
Yeah, I did not have any additional follow-up from him, but I think he was pleased with the additional trees that were added kind of on that north-south axis there, so that he's going to be looking through a double row in effect as he's looking from his yard.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve conditional use permit with the addition of trees being planted before winter.
okay, do you want a specific date, or,
I don't
okay,
have a date.
Why don't we just say end of November? I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be fine.
because winter, well, the winter solstice is December 21st, and I just,
Yeah.
Okay.
what's that?
So adding condition 6 would just say trees in the fence have to be completed by the end of November.
Yep.
2016.
Sounds good.
Okay, is that fine, amended that way? Okay, so we got a motion that unconditional permit, which has to be finished by November 30th. And I got a second by Sean Ryan. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 4-0. Good. Thank you. Jim, we're talking Dozinky already?
We are.
Hey, it's glad to see you at a meeting. It's been a couple. We've missed you.
Yes, I did get waived off for one of them,
Yeah.
so. But yes, welcome council. Tonight I'd just bring before you the request for Dozinky Festival and Car Cruise night. Generally, it is the same request, with the exception of the additional request to allow the band to play until midnight rather than the 11 p.m. as in the past. Is what they're looking at doing.
Okay.
So I would start tomorrow with making my contacts to set up other law enforcement assistance and also the MnDOT parade permit. And based on your decision tonight on whether you want to keep the 11 p.m. or go to midnight, I will make Deb aware of that tomorrow.
What's your opinion on that?
For block parties, we do 10 p.m. So if that was in a neighborhood or someplace, it would be 10 p.m. They have played 11 o'clock for the last 30, is this 33, I think? Per letter had it. Yes, 33 annual, so 32 years they played till 11. They have always tried to push it later. Ultimately, if you allow it to go to midnight, we'll get more noise complaints. But it's gonna be up to you, what you guys wanna do.
Do we get a lot of noise complaints?
We do from some of the residents around Central Avenue here, and then those that live along Main Street.
What is the noise complaints for the music or just the noise from the street?
Generally the music, for some of the apartments that are above storefronts and things. And that's been in the past. There were several families that would complain if a bar propped their door open on a hot summer night and they had a band inside. So that's something we've always addressed. But ultimately, we'll we'll do whatever you decide. I know in the past they've played till 11, 11:30, and they would have to be told, you need to shut down. And the band would respond rapidly to that. Deb didn't always respond to that. She wanted to continue to play. But again, it's up to you.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess if I were to go to midnight, I'd want to make sure that it was a hard midnight and that it didn't extend on like the 11 PM did to 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they could be able to, the general public, some of that respite, but I'm fine with going to midnight.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you too. I mean, if we're gonna let them go to midnight, it's not like start their last song at midnight.
Mhm.
They'll end at midnight. You know, if it gets approved, I would think that's something we would want Deb to be aware of so that she can tell whoever their last band is, whoever the band is, to shut it down. So,
You could try it for a year, since you have a choice every year, you could try it for a year and see what happens.
Right.
if That's what you want to do.
any comments? Any other?
No, I'd suggest you try it for 1 year, see what happens.
Yeah, because I do question it for those people that do live around, they have to put up with a lot over the weekend, but.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the request with the stipulation that it must end at midnight.
Okay.
With the evaluation, well, I guess if we're gonna have to approve it next year, we would. Okay, I got a motion. I will second that motion. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay. 4-0.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Glenn, I knew there was a reason you were smiling.
We get to visit.
Pothole policy.
In front of you got.
Mr. Getzinger was wondering why do we have to have a pothole policy? So,
The recommendation by the league. We had a meeting back in April with Troy Walsh, who's our representative from the league, or he's the loss control consultant. We meet with him yearly, and basically what they do is they come to cities and come to us and say, this is the claims, these are the complaints, these are the things that we've seen happen in different cities throughout the year. So then they go through our policies, our checklist as far as inspections on playground equipment, and verify that we're doing it adequately, that we're even doing it, and then make recommendations. And the one policy we did not have is a pothole policy. So that was one of their recommendations, is that we get a pothole policy, and basically explains the process. If we get a complaint about a pothole in the street, how do we deal with it? What's the timeline? Things like that. So it's pretty much the same as our snow plowing policy, our street sweeping policy. Basically, again, just explains what's our procedure, how are we gonna react. So that's pretty much it. It's the league doing their job, and it's actually kind of good for us too, because it makes us look at our stuff and go, we probably can improve on this, or you know, we did get a pretty good check this year, and he said, you guys are doing a pretty good job, so that's always nice to hear too.
is this policy that have something that they had and you guys just kind of
Yep.
changed it to put this
Exactly,
reg in it?
and then it went to Scott Riggs' office, and he
Oh,
actually
okay.
tweaked it a little bit from there also, so
Okay.
this has been through the whole process.
Sounds good. Any other questions or comments for Glenn on the pothole
Yeah,
policy?
I have a comment, or actually some comments. When I first read this thing, I thought, what the hell is Sticha doing now? What does he want from us now? Or more bureaucracy, maybe he wants a supervisor of potholes.
There you go.
Or what lawyer was trying to think of more things that to add on to our
Yeah.
verbiage.
Yeah.
As I thought about this thing, I thought, you know, maybe there's some good to this. You know, potholes can be a little stinking thing to huge thing. They can be real shallow, or they can be real deep. Some even turn into sinkholes.
Yep.
And, you know, you fill it with bituminous or concrete mix. And now they're even talking about, you know, the Romans concrete lasts over 2,000 years, so maybe we can adapt some of that. Well, after looking at all these possibilities, adhesives to bond these different materials together, I thought, geez, I think the city ought to have Glenn and maybe somebody else do a data collection here. Find out what materials are used, how long do they last, what do you use to bond them together, is that bonding agent good or not good? And so this thing, you know, there's potholes throughout the world, and maybe our little street department can
Do some
solve
traveling?
problems.
Do some traveling.
Traveling and do some things that'll help the rest of the world with their pothole problems.
I think MnDOT must have a whole department that does that out on the freeway there out by Monticello, that they use a lot of different things to see what wears best, what during the winter and all of that
That's
stuff.
what I figured city employees can do.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, this could develop into developing a worldwide pothole solution.
Yeah.
There you
Well, we're known as the roundabout city. We don't need to be known as the pothole city.
So I thought, you know, if Wally Miller started MVE here just out of his garage, why the heck can't we start a pothole engineering thing?
I'm on
out of our garage?
it. Where do you want to send me first?
Well, I thought, you know, a couple years from now, we can talk to Mankato State University and they can have a pothole engineering program started.
They probably do already.
BS and MS and then PhD piled higher and deeper.
Well,
And then Glenn Sticha here will be made Dean of the pothole engineering program.
Dean, yeah, there you go. Well, it's a nice thing that we don't deal with potholes very often now because of our streets being done, you know, for not that many years ago. Although it's something we did change years ago is we used to just buy a pothole mix, and then UPM, Unique Pavement Management Team, came out with a different pothole mix that was like 4 times the money, but it proved to be the product to use. Because a lot of those, back in the day when we were patching potholes, you'd put that in, that would go for a number of years before you had to replace it. Where the old stuff, you'd put it in and it seemed like 3 weeks later, the hole was back again. It's never lasted. So, they do it better materials. But I'm on it. I'm with you.
Any other comments? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the pothole repair policy.
Second.
Second by Amy Jurek. If there's no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, pothole policy is in effect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, you didn't have a problem with them this year?
I didn't. So as always, I do an update in July. We get our population projection. And as you recall, we're always a year behind for the previous year's April. So our estimate currently is for April 1 of 2016. And it shows we're at 7,585 people, which is up 77 residents over that 1 year time period. And then it only shows we're up to 5 households. Now, that does track back to our house permits issued during that time frame. And the reason we're up that many people, even though it's 5 households, and they figured 5 households were completed during that time, we issued more permits. That they have a whole formula on how many they figured got done based on when they're issued and all that. So what they did finally adjust, and they didn't have to ask them to do this, was to take our average household per household population, and they bumped it up, which is what we've been telling them for 4 years, that we have more people per household in New Prague. We're seeing it in our school enrollment and just general new home construction is bringing in a lot of younger families. So finally didn't have to fight for that. So that's why you see the uptick finally. And I think next year will show an even greater increase. And I did include in here, just for background information, out of our comprehensive plan, where we figured the 2016 year would put us at, and it was about 8,600 residents, so about 1,000 people under where we figured we're at today based on the census now. Again, we had some very lean years there in the early 2000s, and I think we're going to start catching up very quickly here with the activity, again, that we're seeing in the past couple of years, and I think we'll continue to see for a few more. So nothing alarming about that, but we are trending a little bit behind our estimates in the comp plan. I also did want to note, along with this, that everything will be basically rechecked and balanced when we get to our 2020 census information, and I just started that process by having a conference call with a census rep, and they basically are working on right now going through and making sure that they have what's called the local update of the census address database. So we have to provide all of our new home permits and all that information that's been from the last 10 years, so that they can have a point on every home in New Prague. And what I'm understanding from the census is they're going to be doing most of their data collection, or trying to do most of their data collection, versus an online, via an online form that people can submit. It used to be you had to fill out a paper form and mail it in, and then they'd have to wait, and then they'd mail you back if they got it. So they're going to try to push that digital method. They will still do the paper method, but they will not have as many people out that were going door to door following up. They won't have as many of those people as they've had in years past. So they rely on that data that we have locally, and I think our vacant lot inventory updates every year have helped greatly to keep that updated. And then Scott County and LeSueur County have really stepped up their game in providing the parcel data. And so I think we'll have a good list for the 2020 update, and that'll shore us back up. But historically, we've always gained more population when the new census comes out, just because they always undercount our household sizes. But I'm happy with where we're showing that we're at here today. So.
Okay. And then also related, you sent me an email regarding that the Census Bureau is going to be looking for some more, almost like a community committee to help
Yes.
help with the census, get in filled out and turned in. So
Kind
it's
of
something we'll have to
marketing
address. And,
arm of the census, so they don't have to pay for it.
yeah. So, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next, consent agenda. Any questions or issues on any item in the consent agenda?
I had a couple on the open invoices.
Okay.
I see that SEH, the Project 19, 2020, Highway 19 thing, but we've already paid $49,000 for.
That ends up being a pass-through, if you recall.
Yeah, I know, it's passed through, that's all engineering costs right now, or?
Yeah, all the work that they do for the pre-designed materials and the work that they've been doing.
Okay, it just seemed like a really big number, I was just kind of curious.
The contract as a whole is.
I know what the whole contract was, but it's early, it's still 3 years away, and we're, you know.
No, this is the pre-design that they started last fall.
Yeah.
It goes through this year. So
Right.
we've been at it now for, what, Glenn, 9 months?
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought 49,000, almost $50,000 seemed like a lot of money. I was just kind of curious how far they've gotten, you know. But, all right, that explains that. The other one in the enterprise sewer, sanitary sewer, the membership dues, is that right too? Almost $2,500 for the membership?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was the entity that you agreed to join that's going to do an analysis on our wastewater permit.
Okay.
That was a subgroup connected with the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. You entered into an agreement on a partial. This is now the full year based on the number of
Sewer connections
that we have.
Okay. Were we going to, I thought we were gonna renew it, or look at it again, weren't we? Wasn't it just a 1 year?
No,
Trial.
you did it for just, no, it was just, it was a partial for 3 months, Glenn.
Almost 5 months was the parcel.
And now this is for the full year?
That's correct. Now this will go till July of next year.
Okay, but we weren't gonna review it after that 5 months, that's what I thought.
If we were, I forgot that, I wasn't.
No, there really wasn't anything to evaluate, because the biggest part of what they will do for us is that as soon as we get the preliminary wastewater permit requirements in there, is the biggest part, and the reason we joined was to have them do an independent review for us to see whether they're in agreement with those terms and conditions or not. So there was nothing between that initial start of 5 months versus the annual renewal.
Okay.
It's kind of amazing, we get the updates from Messer through an email, and of the things that they've been watching, either pollution control or EPA, as far as what they're pushing or trying to get accomplished in rule changes and things like that. And it's, so far, they've impressed me in the sense that they've changed a lot of the wording that the original EPA came out and said, well, this is what we want the cities to do. And they fought it, they argued it, they said that's just not gonna work and would get things changed. So far, I'm seeing in my mind that they're actually doing a lot for all the members of this organization. Realistically, I guess they're doing it for everybody, but they live off the memberships to keep the lawyers on staff and things like that. So I think they're really kind of doing what we were hoping they were gonna do.
Okay.
The primary makeup of Messer is mostly greater Minnesota cities that have retained and gone together trying to use scientific analysis, as Glenn just indicated. As you take a look at the legislative pieces that are proposed by MPCA against cities, and the limitations that we have to live with is that it's a consortium of those cities trying to take a look at being a reactionary group to try to ensure that the conditions, the limitations, the permit standards that are coming down are actually needed in doing what they're intended to do. And so they've done different white papers and different analysis, and at times I think the group has even sued the MPC in the process, trying to get things changed on behalf of the outstate cities, because most of the metropolitan cities are all through the Joint Met Council sanitary sewer district. And so the makeup of this is mostly greater Minnesota cities that participate in this.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just, I thought we were gonna review it after that initial 5-month trial period. That's what, you know, I mean, it makes sense if you guys are happy with it.
Yeah, I think so far, it really is showing to me that it's money well spent so far.
Okay, good.
Anything else, Sean?
Nope, that was it.
Anyone have any other questions or issues on the consent agenda? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. Any other comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 4-0. Miscellaneous. Patrick?
Nope.
You're good? Mitch? Mitch is good. Jim?
Just an update on interview for our third police officer replacement this year. I will be doing oral interviews next Tuesday. We're pulling 5 from our previous list that will go through the interview process, and we'll see how that process goes, and the hope is that we would be able to find a candidate and make an offer for the replacement of the officer that had resigned.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
Nothing.
Okay. Glenn?
I have nothing.
Ken?
Just a quick update on the restoration of the cabin. The Historical Society paid for a wooden floor to be put in the cabin, and that was being worked on today if you happen to go by there. So it's, I don't remember what the boards were, they're reclaimed boards, so it's gonna look like shiplap, sorry. Glenn was there at the same meeting, remember. So I don't have an exact time when it's gonna be done, but by Dozinky, they're gonna have the whole thing open and it'll be done, and hopefully the ramp off the back that the Historical Society has been fundraising for, and then finishing up the storage building. But things are plugging along, but I just got the update that the floor was being installed today. So again, all donations from the Historical Society for that.
Good. Anything else?
Nope.
Michael?
I've got a couple of items. One is the district court judge signed off last week on the council's recommended appointments to the Charter Commission, so that is complete. We got confirmation on that. Got a call this afternoon that the Macau Group closed on the purchase of the property south of the State Bank. So they are the owners of that parcel of land as of today. So we have that. Councilmember Jerkin asked for an update on the GME evaluation. Going back to the first quarter, for the first 3 months, earlier this year, there was not a lot in the first quarter because all they had was the 12, the bingo events that were there. So it was really difficult to try to apply the evaluation tool because there was really no other activity. Also at that same time at the end of that first quarter is that as I was working with Wade, he transitioned with a new job. And if you recall, I had some medical issues that I was dealing with at that time, but not a lot of activity there. We met last week in a preliminary meeting to do the second quarter evaluation, take a look at the financials, all the other activity, talked with the board chair, took a look at some of their activity in the evaluation format. I have to get final input from the finance. Patty was on vacation last week, but we went through it. We've got a date set for our next 6 months of meetings. So I'm not done exactly with the second quarter at this point, and I can share that with you when I get done. But I need Patty's input on the process. As we took a look at it, if you remember, it was about a 3-page evaluation, and we had questions whether that was an ideal form. It ties into the contract. We've talked about whether we condense it further. Part of trying to condense it is that there needs to be, as we're finding in this part of the review, is what are the elements and the major things that we can evaluate. Obviously, the financial side is one piece. As we take a look at that, and I went through, I just got preliminary second quarter numbers through the end of June. There may be a little bit of refinement as Patty comes back here, so that's why I can't have it complete. Activity year to date is we're down about through the first 6 months about 26,000 compared to last year. The course did not open up till March 31st. We had a wet May. That was probably the major activity. As we look at the revenues in the first 6 months, that memberships are on track to budget numbers, but basically green fees and card fees are down, and we're down in the food and beverage. And so as I talked with Wade, is that I need to be able to get, as part of this review process, is I need to get rounds of golf for activities from a measurement standpoint. So I've got some way that we're looking at tracking and evaluating, why is there that impact? And we know that May was a wet month, it was cold, and that did hit us differently, but I don't have any formal numbers that I can use. And so as we're going through the evaluation process, this first year will be kind of a piece in evaluation as we try to use it, is we may end up having to refine it. And by refine it, we need to get rounds of golf by each month so we can see how we're doing month to date or year to date to prior years. Trying to get a listing of the events that are being held there. That we used to get that in an annual report in prior years. He has not done that. I said we need to return to that. I need to know on a monthly basis for both the benefit of the golf board and the council that we've got some way of tracking that. So we're making those changes as well. So as soon as I can sit down with Patty, that board chair had nothing but good comments that he thinks the board is taking a greater role in looking at the financials differently that we provide, as we always have, the information current year to date, month to date, as well as comparison to last year, month to date and year to date. And so even though we go through those, I think they're learning to how to take a look at that. We also provide the activity in the back of the packet where I think we've got 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years tracking, that they can see what's happening on revenues and expenditures in a traditional month. So it's not as if they don't have that data, and they can see the detail of what's exactly coming in each month of both revenues and line items, even with the year-to-date information. So they've got more information than one could ever ask in that sense. We just need to extract and get more of it that we can use in the formal evaluation process. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So the system isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. As I said, we had a bit of a transition with Wade taking a new job, and I dealt with some of the medical stuff towards the end of March there, into June a little bit, but we stayed in contact and in touch. As I said, I talked to the board chair that he thinks things have generally gone well. I think overall, from some of the comments working with Patty, is that we've made progress in a number of the elements and concerns we had last year. We're not perfect, but I think we've made progress. Communication between our staff and GME, and of course that I think has improved as well. So we've made progress in a number of areas. It's not perfect, but it's moving in the right direction.
Right.
So that's all I have.
Okay. That's it, Mike? Deb? Sean?
Nope.
David? Amy?
When is the next stakeholder meeting? Is it August now?
Pardon me?
The next stakeholder meeting?
It should be in August, but.
We have our technical meeting tomorrow in Mankato at midnight. So that would generally mean that next month, August, should be a stakeholder.
Or could we just add, you don't have to look at it, Glenn, but could we just add it to this listing when they are?
Ken?
Thank you.
Oh, sure. August 8th.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. August 15th, I'm sorry. Tuesday, August 15th.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I don't have anything, so I guess with that in mind, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second by Amy Jurek. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the evening.